Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another edition of Yeehaw or Yee Nah Summer Checklist Song Edition. As you can see, I am in the process of moving. I got boxes all around. All the books are gone. I'm headed to Nashville in less than a week, but the show must go on, and so, forgive the appearance. And just so you know, the channel is staying the same. I'm not selling out. I don't have some big gig that I'm doing where I won't be doing videos anymore. I'm just making a move. Also, I want to remind you of the merch available at GradySmithShop.com. We got Just Doing What We Do tees, Sad Boys tees, Big Thicket Honky Tonk art prints, and a bunch of other stuff. So thanks for checking that out, and you can see it in the link below. Got a bunch of singles to get into, so let's just start with one that came out about a month ago now. It's the new one from Tyler Hubbard called 5'9".
God makes 5'9" brown eyes and a sun.
Obviously, we had already heard Brian Kelly's post-Florida Georgia Line music, and I think everyone felt it was surprisingly good. It had very much its own vibe, but we didn't really know what Tyler Hubbard's sound was going to be as a solo artist in the post-FGL era, and it's a lot more like FGL. It feels like less of a jump away from their sound, and maybe that makes sense because he was always kind of the lead vocalist in that band. The song 5'9" definitely reminds me a little bit of Simple from Florida Georgia Line. It's got that thrumming acoustic guitar, that kind of brushed drum sound, and it sort of flows along quite nicely. This is not the bombast of like, this is how we roll or anything goes or something like that. This is much more simple. So I think I was positively surprised in that way, and Tyler Hubbard does have such a distinctive voice and a really heavy twang. I think lyrically is where this song feels a lot more generic to me. This is a song, I thought it was going to be a short king anthem about 5'9", a great height. My height, if you've ever been wondering. But in fact, he is describing this girl and her eyes and how God made her and she's just this perfect angel. Definitely some woman worship vibes, but I feel like the verses demonstrate this trope I've been noticing a lot in country music, which are just these songs that are composed of long lists of analogies, of certain things that go well with other certain things, and those are reflective of your love. Like on Made for You by Jake Owen, he talks about how water towers are made for hearts and names, and Friday nights are made for football games. Obviously that culminates in I Was Made for You. In a song like Denim and Rhinestones on Carrie Underwood's new album, she talks about how jet black and a Cadillac, Tennessee and a bottle of Jack, those things go together just like Denim and Rhinestones, just like you and me. On something like Better Together by Luke Combs, you've got Coke cans and BB guns, barbed wire and old fence posts, and, some things just go better together. And on 5'9", he's talking about how Jack makes good whiskey, red dirt makes good riding roads, country makes good music, but like God makes 5'9" people, and that's good for me. It's kind of weird. It's like nice to have images, and I'll say that, but at the same time, there's not a story being told. It's just like a freaking SAT test where you are getting, as this is to this, so you are to me. So I don't know, I feel two ways about it. I'm very pleasantly surprised by the music of this song. I feel like both Brian and Tyler have now demonstrated that maybe they are going to thrive creatively, not as part of this duo right now, but when it comes to the lyrics, this just feels so checklisty, and so I'm gonna give it just a yee. And geez, I'm hearing like the voice of my old editor from the magazine world in my head being like, don't give anything a B, give it an A or give it a C. The music right now is at like a pretty generic place, I'm not gonna lie. Early year music was just sick, everything was so good. Right now I feel like we are in like the boring summer release phase. And speaking of boring summer releases, let's talk about Lady A with Summer State of Mind. Man, this phase of Lady A's career I just find depressing. The overly bright colors, the pool floaties and neon, the really juvenile spring break lyrics, it just feels like an artist that's kind of aging out of their relevant phase, trying to cling on to a youthful image and singing about how they got no worries and they're gonna be wasted all the time in a summer state of mind. It just doesn't read as like real to me. I liked their last project, Ocean, quite a bit. This just feels like, this is like Cole's Core. This is giving me minivan, this is giving me Old Navy commercial, and it's just giving me kind of sad, and it's definitely a yee, nah. And man, I don't get it. I feel like sometimes country artists blow up with more serious fare, and then it's like they feel this pressure to stay on an autopilot and make radio-friendly, dumb music instead of trusting that, no, people have demonstrated that they like you, why don't you try and do something a little bit cooler? I don't get it. This always happens. Like, late phase, big country stars just go, you know, the most generic route possible. So strange. Then let's talk about Lainey Wilson and Heart Like a Truck.
I got a heart like a truck. It's been drugged.
Easily, within this video, this is the song that surprised me the most. I think I was kind of avoiding it because I just figured it was like a dumb truck song, but it's one of those rare, amazing truck songs where she's using the truck as a metaphor for the type of person she is, which is resilient, tough, strong, can keep going, and it's a lot more serious than I was expecting it to be. I mean, also, we should say, I think truck songs are officially back. Remember when I did my whole lyric analysis and truck songs almost fully petered out circa like 2017? They're officially back. I feel like Riley Green, and now Morgan Wallen's got a few in there, and now 7500 OBO, and now we got Lainey Wilson, so trucks are officially back. I think we can say that, and this is a really good song. I think her vocal on it has such conviction, and it peaks with that sustained high note, which I was just not expecting. The first time I heard this song, and she said heart, and she held it for like 10 seconds. Woo! I was like, this is such a cool track. I feel like the only criticism I could offer is just that the album cover looks like it's gonna be so fun and funky in 1970s with the bell bottoms and the font, and then it's this kind of cool, slow burn, torchy track, but that's not even a criticism. This gets a really big yee-haw from me, and Lainey is just killing it. She's been getting awards, she just got cast on Yellowstone, she's touring with John Party. I mean, she's just killing the game right now. Someone else that's kind of killing the game is Jordan Davis, and he's got a new song called What My World Spins Around.
To the way that it feels when you lean in and kiss me, the way
I've always actually kind of liked how Jordan Davis melds some poppier production into his country music. It's always got a smoother, kind of sleek vibe to it, and this song, with its really kind of strong punches of guitar, definitely feels a little bit more rock influenced than what he normally puts out, but I think it mostly works. It's a pretty simple song about how his world revolves around his girl, and it has that same kind of lyrical trend I was describing, where the entire first verse are just things that he loves. He loves his first cast when the water is glass. He loves that first sip of cold beer. But at the end of that verse, he says, but none of that comes close to the way that, you know, he loves her. And again, fun to get all the images, but it's kind of a weird way of telling a story. Still, I think the rhythmic grooves in the lyric delivery are really what make this song much more exciting. There's kind of this descending thing of like,
I love the twilight in the morning for the day wakes up.
like all through the verses and the chorus. And then halfway through the chorus, you get a rhythmic switch up where he says, I don't even know what it is, but now that I found it. Like, that is actually really cool. And something I think I'm growing in as a music listener is actually paying attention to the grooves. And this song does have them. And I think they're actually much more interesting than the lyrics. So I just think it's like okay lyrically. I think it's interesting melodically. And I think I'd give it a strong yee. Another one I want to mention is Shane Smith and the Saints' new song, Hummingbird.
Hummingbird, don't fly so far.
Now, Shane Smith and the Saints used to seem like a kind of outside indie act, but I feel like after being featured so heavily on Yellowstone, then touring with Whiskey Myers, they've really arrived as one of those independent acts that actually are pretty widely known, despite the fact that they're never going to play on country radio. And I feel like this new song, Hummingbird, is a great example of why Shane has such an interesting voice. It's way deeper than you would expect from someone that has this big band behind him. I feel like I'm used to hearing rocking singers be way more of like a tenor, and he's got this deep baritone that adds a kind of like serious gravitas to a lot of their music. And in this case, he is sort of pleading with his woman, like, please just use me to rest on. He compares her to a hummingbird that is moving so quickly, trying to stay flying, but if you would just rest, then like you might see me and feel better, and it's like a kind of lovely lyric. It's accompanied by fiddle, but it's not the kind of quick moving fiddle like you might expect in a song called Hummingbird. It's a little more legato, a little more haunting, and all around I just think it's a super interesting song. So overall I would give it a yee-haw, and I'm not like the most well educated on my Shane Smith and the Saints. I've heard some of their music, but I'm getting into it. Now let's talk about the new single from Sam Hunt called Water Under the Bridge.
That muddy river, it was rolling. We didn't care where it
First things first, this is not an Adele cover, although we should lobby for Adele to do a cover of Body Like a Back Road. But this is a song in which Sam is kind of remembering the recklessness of hanging out with his friends by the river and how they got in like dumb fights, and now all that stuff is just water under the bridge. They used to hang out under the bridge, now it is time that has passed them by. It's like kind of a mix of Red Dirt Road and maybe Seven Summers by Morgan Wallen. In some ways, the instrumentation on this is pretty surprising from Sam Hunt. It feels almost like a highly produced version of kind of 90s country sounds interpolated into a more trappy beat. It a little bit reminds me of the production on Like I Love Country Music by Kane Brown, especially when you get the piano in the chorus. But it's also very Sam Hunt in that it has so much of a hip-hop influence. Although he's not really talk rapping this, he's singing it, but my biggest issue with the song is whatever vocal processing is on his voice on the verses is super weird to me.
park some old Chevy jukebox up here on the bank.
I don't know what they did to his voice, or if he's putting on like a twang, or if he recorded it here but they modulated it up a couple steps. I don't know, but there's the verses just sound wrong to me, and it's distracting. I think the chorus hits. I think the chorus really works, with the exception of one line about how they were popping wheelies, just because I feel like that breaks the water metaphor. I'm like, no, you can't pop a wheelie on the water. But that's a minor complaint. I get it. They're going for kind of reckless small town summer. But for the most part, I feel like the melody of the chorus and even his delivery of it really super work. But man, I hate the verses a lot. I don't know how they made someone that sounds like this
And I know your name, 'cause everybody in here knows your name.
sound more like...
I can't believe this old road ain't washed out.
So I think I'm just sticking with a yee on Water Under the Bridge. And I'm interested to hear what people think of it, or if like people care about Sam as much. I feel like 7 years ago, no one could touch Sam Hunt in terms of just relevance, but he's been so under the radar, and I'm just wondering, like, is that passion still there for him? Because Southside, I feel like it kind of just existed, but it wasn't like a big impact maker. So, I don't know. Where are you guys with Sam Hunt? On the totally opposite end of the spectrum, someone that I think is super buzzy is Bailey Zimmerman. He's got his new song, Rock in a Hard Place.
Between a rock and a hard place, red wine and milk.
Now this song's interesting because it's not his single that is now taking off, Fall in Love, but we already talked about Fall in Love. I talked about it in that video where I was listening to new artists for the first time, and I was actually quite surprised how much I liked it. I was like, man, this guy's got the middle part, the Gen Z cut, he's a TikToker, I'm hearing all this buzz. I was expecting something to be bad, but I thought the lyrics were interesting with the smoke ring wrapped around her finger. I thought his voice was very impressive, and on Rock in a Hard Place, I honestly feel the same. This is a song about feeling stuck, about just being at this crossroads in a relationship. Things aren't working, and there's tears rolling down the face, and there's too much wine, and it's midnight, and he's angry and frustrated, and his voice and the kind of rocky quality to it is really suited to a song like this. But whereas I criticize the TikTokers that just scream all the lyrics of their TikToks, I actually think this has a lot of dynamics. I actually think the steel on it sounds super nice. And I love his delivery of even just the first line of the song, where he just says, we've been swinging and missing, and it kind of falls off. Man, I think it's good. So I think I'd give this song a yeehaw. I'm here for Bailey right now. I'm like actually quite impressed with the stuff that he's putting out. And certainly you look at his streams, I mean, he might not be a mainstream name yet, but it has all the signs of someone kind of becoming like the next Morgan Wallen, perhaps. We'll see. I've just learned the term Lindy, and I feel like with 2 songs, you can't say someone is Lindy yet, but you know, it has the signs of someone that's really taken off. Another young gun on the come up is Connor Smith, and he's got a new song called Summer on Your Lips.
We were Cadillac crazy and ragtop getaways.
I like Connor, even if I haven't heard very much of his music. When I hear that song, Learn From It, it's like super likable. I think this is his like next song, I would imagine, leaning toward a full album. And it's a driving, happy summer track. Is it a checklist song? Absolutely. They're driving down a 2-lane highway. They're ragtop crazy and they're feeling that freedom in the summer. The chorus is something that you've definitely heard before. I actually like the verses. I like the mentions of the freckles and listening to Summertime by Kenny Chesney. And same in the first verse where they're talking about the fresh cut grass and the gasoline. The imagery in the verses I think is way better than the imagery in the chorus on this song. But what I really like about the song is where it sits in Connor's voice. I feel like it is placed exactly right in his range to have a really dynamic delivery. There's moments in the chorus where he says, "Heaven in the windshield, heaven in your kiss." Where it hits him when he says heaven, it's in this like little bit of a lilt in his voice. And it kind of adds this little bit of a flow to the song that makes it feel really conversational. He does remind me quite a bit of Thomas Rhett in that way. And I think it really works. I mean, he's like a very pleasant narrator to be listening to. It feels youthful. So I like it, don't love it. It's almost reminding me of what I always say about Riley Green, where I'm like, I'm not that impressed with kind of the story being told here, but it sure sounds nice. That's a little bit how I feel about this song. So I'll give it a strong yee. And let's just knock our last summer checklist song out of the way with Seaforth and Queen of Daytona Beach.
These beautiful girls invented a good time.
This song actually features Sean Kingston, and it starts out with them saying beautiful girls in the same way that Sean Kingston's famous song Beautiful Girls starts, and I hate this song. It's got that snaptracky, boring R&B influenced sound, and it's kind of about someone that seems to be like a bitchy, entitled girl that has her daddy's money and is getting out of her Jeep, and everyone's just fawning over this Queen of Daytona Beach. So I'm like, I don't really even like the main character that you're singing about. She's certainly not endearing. And ultimately, it's just shallow. It's a celebration of the white sand suntan Coke can, mix it with the Jack Dan on the gram, oh man, all these beautiful girls. And then they bring in Sean Kingston for a verse that ends up being even more boring and generic. Like, I do not get it. I'm like, what did this add to the song? It is such a throwaway verse. And so this one just gets a yee, nah. I have yet to really like anything from Seaforth. Then we got Kat Hasty, who is back with her song Bleed For You.
How could I run the sun? How could I run any man?
Now, Kat Hasty, if you didn't remember, we've often said she's almost like a female Zach Bryan. She kind of blew up with these acoustic mixtape songs like Pretty Things, where I'm obsessed with the bridge of that song where she's talking about the girl in Dallas. But then I really also loved her follow-up EPs when she had that song What Our Parents Taught Us. She's got this very stark sound, but on Bleed For You, she's playing much more with a full band. And definitely it feels like this is a much more developed sound. There is something a bit amateurish about the way that her vocal almost feels like it's sitting on top of the music rather than kind of mixed in perfectly with it. But that would be my only real criticism of the song. On the whole, I really like it, and I think it's telling an interesting story. And if you haven't picked it up now, I would rather people just have something to say than be like, we like being in the sun on the beach, you know, like Kat has something to say. And in this case, what she's saying is like, I would recklessly bleed for you.
But tell me who else can love me, for the skeletons are buried in my backyard.
And it's almost like you don't know if she's singing about just her pure devotion or if it's like her stupid devotion, where she talks about how it's been miles and miles and years and it's hurt her, but she would rather bleed for this man than be with somebody else. And I love the bridge when she says, I'm terrified if I go 10 years down the road, I hear a knock on my door and I'll come running just like I did before. So wreck my heart and kill me slow, just take me with you when you go. Basically like, look, I know I am helpless to not be with you, so if you're gonna leave me, just take me. Like, it doesn't actually make sense, and that's what's good about it. This song for me gets a yeehaw. And I love Kat. I like that she has an unusual portrayal of relationships and love. Then we got Kit Moore, and he's back with a new one called Fire on Wheels.
I'm talking Alabama, New Orleans to Mississippi.
Talk about a groove. This song is really groovy. It's rocking. It's very cool. I feel like the music of this thing, it feels very like Southern rock. It definitely, you can tell, was co-produced by Jaron Johnston of the Cadillac 3. Lyrically, I feel like it's territory that Kip has covered a bunch of times before. Stuff like Lipstick, as well as She's Mine, or about how there's these girls in every city and we throw a party, and that is exactly what this song is. It's like, look, we got people from Alabama down to New Orleans, and there's girls, and we're just like gonna be on the road with fire on wheels having a good time. So I'm not that amazed by the lyrics of this, but I do think some of the music is so freaking cool. Like, the best part of the song by a mile that really surprised me is the flow from the first chorus into the second verse. Because you actually don't realize that the chorus has ended, because the verse feels almost this like second refrain post-chorus. You think it's kind of tapering off, and then you just sort of realize like, oh wait, we're in the second verse. This is the same melody as the first verse. That rhythmic thing happening with the guitar is so exciting. And I think it puts the song from just being a yee to being like closer to a yeehaw. It's somewhere in that mix. I'm sorry there's so many middling scores in this. It's just, that's how I feel. Last one I want to talk about is Luke Combs and his new single, The Kind of Love We Make.
Making the kind of love we make.
Now, with one glaring exception to this line, "You're doing what you're doing," that's in the chorus of this song, I really like this song. And now, having heard the full Luke Combs album, I definitely think it was the right choice as the next single. Because I feel like we didn't need another plodding, serious, romantic ballad from Luke Combs, and we didn't need a big, like, brash, beer never broke my heart moment. We haven't had just kind of like a chill, happy Luke Combs song in a while, almost since kind of like When It Rains It Pours, although this is telling a very different, more kind of like sexy, happy story than that song. And I think it's a great change of pace. It's fun to hear Luke Combs just kind of sing rather than have to belt or roar out the lyrics. And there's a lushness to the melody of this song and the instrumentation. I love the instrumentation on this new album, I must say. That makes this song really good to me. And it's not my favorite from Luke. I don't feel like it comes close to something like Even Though I'm Leaving or the aforementioned When It Rains It Pours, but is really likable. So I'd give it a light yeehaw. But that's it for me. I talked a lot about all those songs. I was going to try to keep it to 30 seconds each, and shocker to no one, I failed. But let me know your thoughts on some of these songs, and hit me up in the comments. Subscribe if you are new here and haven't been here before. Check out the merch, and I'll see you soon. And I'll soon see you in Nashville. Bye.